There are a number of ways that people get internet while traveling and on the road. Our primary source of internet when we're on the road is cellular signal. And we've been using the T-Mobile home unit, and that's been working really well for us. But we're looking at the future and trying to integrate new and different technologies. And another thing that's going on with us is we're going to start doing a little more boondocking. We're going to be in a little more remote areas than we've been. And that's where something like this, a cellular signal booster, can really come into play. This is the HiBoost cellular signal booster. I do want to point out that this is their new Travel 3.0 RV phone booster, and this is the newest unit that they have on the market, and it is 5G compatible. But again, let's open it up and let's see what's in this box. Here's a user manual. Those are always quite important. Also in here is the actual booster module itself. Rubber pads on the side, a little more padding on it. Says you're getting signal and what's going on. Here is where the outdoor antenna plugs in. There's a USB port here for power, and here's where the indoor antenna hooks in, and then here's the DC input for power. So there's numerous ways that you can power this unit and have it work. Here is for the antenna, for the whip antenna that goes up. It has a little slot for the coax cable to come out. There's two of these in the box, extenders to get that antenna that comes in as high as possible. And depending on the mount and the type of mounting that your RV needs, you may need one, both, or none of these for the installation to work properly. Here is the external antenna, which is a omnidirectional antenna, so you don't have to point it at a signal. It's going to be receiving signals from all around. That should be pretty handy. The micro coax cable for the antenna, what is going to hook up the external antenna and then run inside our Airstream or your RV and then hook to the booster component right here. There is some mounting hardware with a ladder bracket, some U-bolts and a ladder bracket. If you have some type of way to mount this to a, like if you have an external ladder on your RV, I know a number of fifth wheels do, and some travel trailers. We do not have that on our trailer, so we are not going to be using these components. This is the AC adapter. This would then plug into the HiBoost to power it to make it work. And again, a plenty long cable for that. This is a 12 volt, 3 amp output from this. So this unit is designed to run on 12 volts. The former 12 volt type power or cigarette lighter for those who are of a certain age that can plug in. And then there's an on-off switch here to turn it on and off, and then a USB port here in case you have to share this with some other things. So if you have a cigarette lighter plug, this would work out really well. This is the internal antenna here that will mount inside the rig. And again, so this coax connector, this mini coax connector, will connect to the one that says indoor right here. And then this will be mounted somewhere inside the rig. This is also a magnetic unit here, so this could mount if you have a place that's magnetic, and this could stick, so that could work for you. Here is a bracket. This appears to be stainless steel that is going to mount the antenna for it to go up. We're going to be using this, and we're going to be mounting this in a pretty unique spot on the Airstream. Here is the actual spring antenna mount. The whip antenna is going to screw into this side, and then this end here will screw into this bracket, and that'll get the antenna up in the air for us. Also included in this kit, all kinds of adhesives. There's a couple of these oval adhesives right here. These oval adhesives will stick to the back of this, and then this would permanently stick the internal antenna somewhere, wherever it's best. There's this gummy sealant adhesive stuff. There's a number of zip ties here, hold the cables down and keep them neat. That's really nice. And then there's a couple of hook and loop or Velcro. Well, that's everything that's in the box. And after this, we're going to look at where we're going to mount this and see if the mounting hardware that's included with this HiBoost is going to be sufficient to mount this on the Airstream. Coming up with a place to mount this HiBoost external antenna on our Airstream has been quite a bit of a challenge. And one of the things about these cell phone boosters that you need to know is that the external antenna and the internal antenna have to be as far apart from each other as possible. That's because they're both transmitting and receiving the same frequency of signal. And if the antennas are too close together, it's kind of like ripples in a pond. If you do them just the right way, they'll kind of cancel each other out. And we don't want that. We want to boost the signal, not cancel the signal. That would be really bad for our situation. So I kind of looked at different ways and places we can mount this. But one of the first things that I considered when coming up with a place to mount this antenna is, where is the wire going to come into the Airstream? And I really didn't want to drill any holes through the roof of the Airstream. I want a permanent type installation that's going to be very professional and look very nice, but I didn't want to create any potential for water infiltration into the Airstream. So one thing that is available, or a place that's available to run wires and create a wire chase, is actually the vent right up here for the refrigerator. And we'll be able to run a wire into that vent and drop it down into the chase, and it'll come out right here on our back refrigerator access panel. Mount that booster in there somewhere. I do have 12-volt power right here that we could probably tap into. Wire can run down this chase without drilling any holes. Come in right here, and then somewhere we'll have to put the internal antenna, probably up towards the front of the Airstream. There's a screw that's holding that cowl right on, that plastic cowl on the top, and I think we can use that to mount the bracket that'll then mount that external antenna. So let's get out the ladder and let's see if that'll work to mount that antenna. Well, here's the bracket, and I brought a screwdriver up as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to take off that screw that's holding the back corner of this cowling and see if this bracket will mount in there intelligently, and then what else we're going to need, because I don't think those U-bolts or anything are going to work with this. So let's take a look. Use this screw, number 10, it's either 8 or 10 sheet metal screw. I'm pretty sure. So my thought is we could drill another hole here and put in a sheet metal screw right here, and that'll keep that bracket from turning. So I'm thinking there's these other holes here, possibly this one here. We could do a 1/4 inch bolt and then go through and drill a hole right through this metal, and then bring a bolt in and nut it all together right there. Put a nut right there to hold it steady, and then come through and a nut on either side of this to pinch that. And that should make that very, very solid and stable. But before we do that, I think we need to run to the hardware store and get the supplies we need to make this work. Okay, we're back from the hardware store and we've got some supplies. Number 10, 3/4 inch long screws, hex bolts, also have some washers and some larger washers. We're definitely going to need the larger washers for the bolt on the bottom. All right, so I carried the drill up here as well, and we're going to drill through this right here. And we're going to drill through the plastic and then the sheet metal. Then these screws tightens up into that. Driver, drive that in. We're going to see how sturdy that is. I think we need something on the bottom of this to keep that from flexing. And get our hole right there. see if the bolt slips through there, and it does. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go grab the antenna assembly, put it together and mount it so that we're ready to run the wire and wire it up on the inside. I had test fit some of this earlier, and I know that I'm gonna need one of these extensions along with the external antenna, and then of course the thing that has where the wire can escape out the side, whatever this thing is called. So let's start putting these parts together. Push this through like this. Some more Loctite. And so now we just need to attach the spring to the bottom of this. Do a little bit of tighten up on this. Now we're going to go mount this whole assembly to our bracket. Let's get going. So here's our antenna. Let's see if we get this mounted onto there. So take the nut off. And that's our booster antenna mounted now to the Airstream. You can see it's got the spring to help keep everything safe. So our next order of business, and that'll be on a different day, we're going to route this wire, put the extension on and over, and then drop it down inside the Airstream to go to the booster module and ultimately to the inside antenna. And now we're getting ready to route the wire to go inside, or the antenna wire. I've determined in our situation the best and easiest way to run this wire chase is going to be to use the vent for the refrigerator. So I'm going to drill a small hole right here that will allow for the antenna wire to drop down through this cavity, basically a chimney chase, and then it'll go down into a compartment. From there, I can feed it through and get it to the inside of the Airstream, and from there we can put it where the boosting box is going to end up. There's our 3/8 hole that we're going to use to run the antenna wire down. After I fed that wire up and through this hole, through that chase, to get this antenna wire the exact length necessary. It's the next day, and now that we've installed the antenna, ran the cable down through the chase of the refrigerator vent, and now it exists in the box down outside below the refrigerator. And now that cable's coiled up and waiting for us in the box in the back of the refrigerator cabinet. We've got to route the cable inside, and then we're going to install the actual amplifier for the HiBoost, then run the antenna from that, the inside antenna from that, and place it somewhere here in the Airstream and see if we actually boost our signal. So let's get going. The plan is to install the HiBoost actual amplifier behind this compartment right here below the range. Since it's right next to the refrigerator, we should be able to run the antenna wire through one of the pre-drilled holes in the bottom of that unit and then feed it into the booster. Because we're also right next to the electrical box, we should be able to tie into the 12-volt system to power the HiBoost. Then we're going to run the inside antenna cable along the back and behind these cabinets to come out near our L-shaped lounge in the front of the Airstream, and then mount the antenna somewhere there. The initial plan is for the HiBoost inside antenna to be in this area right here, and it's kind of out of the way. It'll still provide, I believe, enough transmission power inside the Airstream, and is very far away from the external antenna. That installation should meet the specs listed roughly in the HiBoost literature, in that you want the outside antenna up and as far away as possible from the inside antenna. Now we're also going to be helped in that an Airstream is a pretty effective Faraday cage, so it's very difficult for cell signals to make it through inside the Airstream. But we're trying to keep those two antennas as far apart. Again, the external antenna in the back of the Airstream and as high as possible, and the internal antenna in the front of the Airstream and as low as is feasible. So let's get cracking on getting this done. So here's our wire, and we're going to route this cable down through one of the openings that's already here in this refrigerator compartment. So the installation is basically done. I've got the HiBoost right here. It's going to be mounted behind this access panel on the floor. I'm going to Velcro it to the floor with a supplied Velcro. I've got my outside and inside antennas hooked up, but I thought I'd take a minute and we'll go through some speed tests, and I'm going to do it first with the booster on so you can see kind of what's going on here. But let's run our speed test really quick and see where we are. And it's picking up speed. And we're going to be at around 24, 25 megabits for upload. I'm sorry, 26.6 for download. And just over 2 for upload. Now let's switch this over and let's turn on our Wi-Fi, and that'll connect to our T-Mobile Wi-Fi. And let's let it reach out and find our T-Mobile and see where our T-Mobile signal is with this on. It looks like we're going to be looks like we're going to be just over 50 for our download speed, 51.4 megabits, and then our upload speed, not the best, just under 2 megabits, so 1.93. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the HiBoost, and that'll shut off all the boosting, and then let's look at the speed we have after that. So with the HiBoost unplugged, let's check first again our AT&T signal. And so we've got that all set right now on the speed test. And we're going to go for that. So around 13.8 megabits on my download. And upload is really where it's showing the difference. And my upload of the AT&T is on 1.27 megabits. So let's get out of that. We're going to turn our Wi-Fi on and let it connect to the T-Mobile home internet device that's sitting right here behind me. And so then we're going to test the T-Mobile speed without the cell phone booster. And that is at 44.5 megabits on the download. And our upload speed is less than 1 megabit. It's 0.66. And that tells me that this cell booster is really working, especially when I have to upload some videos to YouTube. This is going to be a real time saver. Real anxious to try this out in a very poor cell service area where we have little to no signal. But the nice thing is we're actually bringing the cell signals inside now, because it's very difficult to do that inside our Airstream in the all metal enclosure.